Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for Power Rangers Beast Morphers Episode 8, the Cybergate Opens. This was a big episode because it's probably our mid-season finale. All signs seem to be pointing towards a, hiatus like as per usual around this time. And as you probably know just from seeing everything, and I did videos on it too, this was the debut of our Gold and Silver Rangers, one of which as Nate, as we've also kind of known about for a while. I mean, it was officially announced a couple days ago, but we kind of knew about it from set photos and stuff. And also the equivalent of Jay, whose name is Steel, not to be confused with Steel, aka Citizen Steel from Legends. Sometimes we just grew things up for the better. I actually really liked this episode a lot. I had mentioned in the videos leading up to the news of this and, in other videos that I kind of wished that we had held off. And I still agree to that to an extent. Like, I think that saving either one of these debuts or both of them for when we got back would have been kind of cool, like a cool, enticing thing to, wait for when the hiatus comes back. But at the same time, it did give us a really cool episode to leave off on. And at the end of the episode, they did kind of leave it off on, not a cliffhanger, but, a note of like the story continuing. So that was kind of neat, which I'll get to in a minute. I also kind of wish this was a two-parter. I was thinking about kind of like the same thing, or the same line of thinking as the pilot itself, is that it would have been really nice to have two-parters. Like, I missed when we had those two-parter events. I'm not sure why they're so against doing them. I mean, people say like, oh, it's because they have so little episodes, but I mean, we have 40 episodes in the grand scheme of things across 2 seasons. So it would have been kind of nice if they could have somehow engineered this into a two-part episode to make it seem a tad less rushed. Rush is variety. Anyway, so the basic plot of the episode was Nate was working on some new tech, which was obviously the morphers for Gold and Silver, if you're familiar with the Japanese counterpart. They ended up calling the Striker morphers, spoiler alert. And he wants to collect insect DNA in the forest, but he has to have an escort out. And the Rangers end up getting called away when he's being, almost said when he's being escorted, which I guess is true. That's right. I don't know why I was about to correct myself. And then he ends up getting kidnapped by Scrozzle because Scrozzle's like, look, this guy built the Beast Bots. He can finish this robot for us with the J head. And Ben and Betty inadvertently wind up getting a tracker on the truck that the robot that stole morph-x is on. I was kind of hit or miss on that. Like, they had one of our first, or probably our second food gag with them. We were definitely more minimal compared to, like, Victor and Monty, but still, we almost made it a full season, guys. And, like, she was in, like, an ice cream machine, and she got ice cream on her, but it just looked like pink sludge. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. The point is, it was kind of an accident. Like, I'm kind of hit or miss on the way it happened. I kind of almost wish that they could have incorporated some comedy if they really needed it, but that they actually saw it and tried to throw the tracker on there, just because I feel like there's precedent for Ben and Betty actually, not being useless, and I think it would have been nicer and made it seem less convenient if they actually had thrown the tracker on there. Like, they could have easily had it been like, oh my god, let's throw the tracker on here, and then they're like, oh, I fell over, like, while they're doing it, but they could have done it, because, I don't know, I feel like they're not completely useless, and it just felt too coincidental to have them just happen to accidentally throw the tracker up to use it as a coin, and it happened to land on the thing that they needed to track. But anyway, Nate kind of plays up being helpless. It's really funny this week about how there was kind of this whole underestimation of Nate, both on the part of the Rangers and the villains, and him kind of playing it up given the stuff that happened this week on social media with Blake Foster and all that. I don't want to get into that in this video, but it's just kind of funny. The timing's kind of funny. I mean, considering it was about that, it's not, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. But basically, he kind of plays up like, oh, please don't get me. Oh, that was like a Tom Haverford voice. And, so he's working on making the robot, but at the same time, he's working on repairing his communicator, which got damaged, so that he can transport the morpher thing to him. And he had collected some DNA when they were out there before he done got kidnapped, which was Mantis DNA and Scarab Beetle DNA. We'll get to that in a second. But basically, he's kind of playing him. And when Evox is about to go into the robot, like, he almost gets right to it. It's kind of like a callback to the pilot where Nate transports the morpher, he stops the transfer from happening, and basically utilizes the morph-x to his advantage and becomes the Gold Ranger. And he's like, haha, I'm a Ranger. That's not what he said, but he's like, I'm a Ranger. And the suit looks so good. Both of them look so good. And, like, right after that, because the J-suit had fallen over, the J-suit gets up, horns, that was the horns noise, and he's now the Silver Ranger. And So they're fighting, and the Rangers are outside trying to rescue Nate, and then they end up getting rescued by Gold and Silver. The villains send down a mecha, the Rangers fight it, you know, the 3 Rangers that have mecha right now, while Gold and Silver take out the ground troops, and then, you know, they kind of commiserate at the end, and they explain that when the morph-x hit them, Steel, what's his name, Steel, I think I said that already like bazillion times, and by bazillion I mean like upwards of 2.5 times, is not only fused with the Scarab beetle DNA, but with Nate's DNA, so he's kind of part human, which, there we go, we have the confirmation, the half human, half robot, all awesome. So he's technically Nate's brother, which plays into that storyline a bit, and that is why a Beastbot robot can become a Ranger. So, like, you know, that was all kind of cleared up. There was some theories about that I talked about multiple times about, like, is Nate maybe an android we don't know about? I think that's definitely off the table now, because originally everyone was like, oh yeah, this noise is probably Silver's, we just don't know how, you know, human DNA plays into Silver. But then all of a sudden people were thinking it was Gold. I'm not sure why that was all of a sudden. Like, it got me thinking, I'm like, oh my god, maybe you're right. But I mean, I'm not going to leave anything off the table, but I don't think that's going to be happening. I think that, you know, and he's not going to have any human features, he just happens to have some human DNA within him. So I did really like the debut. Like I said, I wish it would have been stretched out over 2 episodes. I think this could have made a really cool 2-parter, and I wish there was a little bit more build up to it. But that being said, it was nice that there was some seeds planted for the story. I mean, in general, this Jay's head storyline, Steel's head storyline, has been stretching across like 3-4 episodes, which was nicely done. And also, Nate a little bit too, with his comments about wanting a brother and stuff like that, and being underestimated and having to have an escort. That was also, you know, laid out a little bit. I wish there was just one more episode that focused on it a little bit, just to make it feel a little bit more built up to, but still, they did build up to it, but it just felt so sudden. I almost wish that amongst seeing like the robot head, we saw him like last episode or the episode before working on the morpher or maybe even the weapons, just to give a little bit more foreshadowing to it, because it seemed very sudden, because he was just like, oh, everyone underestimates me, boom, I'm a Ranger, boom, lawyered. I wish that that was just a little bit more built up to, but it's not like they didn't lay any groundwork to it, and it did kind of come across as a surprise. Like, if they hadn't, I think it would have been actually a nice surprise for new viewers, you know, that don't know the Sentai or, you know, don't follow Power Rangers news or anything like that. It probably would have been a nice surprise, because unlike stuff like Dino Charge, where it was just kind of assumed it would be a Gold Ranger, it would be like a nice surprise, again, if they didn't show both in preview clips and images. So on that side, it was kind of cool. I do like Nate as Gold. I like the way it was played in this episode, where, you know, they made it clear, like, he didn't have any fighting skills, really, before he morphed, but then you obviously always get it when you're a Ranger, and now you're connected to the morphing grid. Although I'm sure there'll probably be some training scenes later, but I like that they played up that he was crafty, and I was pleasantly surprised that the commander actually had faith in him. They're like, oh, Nate Dunn been kidnapped, and she's like, don't underestimate him, he's resourceful. Like, I thought she was gonna go full-on hovering mode, like, no, we have to get him back, I can't believe you failed, Nate's not gonna be able to take care of himself, brah! Like, I honestly thought that was gonna happen, so I was pleasantly surprised she actually had faith in him to do it. I like that he was smart enough to, you know, it was kind of like a very scrappy, on-your-feet situation, where he's like, okay, I gotta figure out a way to get myself out of this, and I can use my secret plans to make myself a Ranger, to get myself to be a Ranger to get out of this, which is cool. Again, I wish I was foreshadowed a little bit more, and I kind of wish that they had saved Steel for when we got back. Like, maybe had Steel still be passed out, and at the end of the episode, when Evox and them were like, we gotta get our body back, that's when Steel awakens, and then you lead into Silver next time. Like, the cliffhanger could have been Steel waking up and turning into the Ranger, just to give you, I don't know, a little bit more something instead of debuting them both at once. But still, it was pretty cool. I do like Steel as well. Like, I like his personality and the beginnings of the interplay. Like, it's really too hard to tell, because I only had a few scenes, how I'm gonna like it going forward, but I like it so far, to be honest. It's really weird, though, because I feel like the voice actor evolved over just the course of these few scenes. Because at first I was like, okay, he sounds a little nasally in, like, the Ranger fight. But then when they were back at the base, it was like the voice was more refined and I liked it more. But I think I'm going to like him, and I think I'm going to like the dynamic for it. And like I said, it leaves off on an interesting note of Evox saying we got to get the robot body back. So I'm assuming that'll be a focus for at least an episode, them trying to get Steel, because that was going to be Evox's body. You know, who knows how long that will go on, because I speculated, like, stuff they could do with if Evox had actually gotten Jay, would they have an Evil Ranger on their side or another Evil Ranger for a second? And again, there is that Gold Ranger suit with the black visor and the trench coat. So who knows? I mean, that could be something that all of us speculate on, and then nothing comes of it, and Evox going after Jay is done after one episode, and he moves on to something else. But I think it did make for a solid mid-season finale, because it was a big episode. We got Ranger introductions, and they kind of left off on here, you know, Evox isn't finished yet, we're going to keep trying this. So let's talk about this for a second, though. So in, you know, Go Busters, gold and silver suits are based off of Kabuto Beetle and Stag Beetle. Change! Stag Beetle! We changed it, though, to Mantis and Scarab Beetle. Okay, here's the thing. I don't have too huge a problem with it in some circumstances. I mean, honestly, I think Mantis Ranger sounds kind of cool, but it's a bit of a stretch for Gold's Ranger suit because he's got the clear Kabuto horns, right? But I could fudge it a little bit. I could fudge it. But it's about the Zord. Same thing with Silver's. I think Silver's helmet actually works quite well for a Scarab Beetle, and I actually kind of dig that. But it's when you get to the Zord that it's a problem. So I got this guy here, our new secondary companion for reviews, maybe not all of them. He didn't test well in the news videos. Everyone's like, bring back Ace. I think you guys like Ace more than me. So do I. Like, let's take a look at this here. So this is Silver Zord with these clear horns. I mean, they'd have to be pretty accentuated Scarab Beetle horns. Like, that's where the problem lies. Like I said, the Silver suit especially, I could totally fudge it for the Ranger suit, but not for the Zord. Like, this is clearly Stag Beetle. And then you have this guy here. So, like, this is the combined mode, and basically, like, boom, that's what the robot looks like without it in terms of the helmet. But, so you got the clear Kabuto horn here as well. I mean, in his robot mode, I can sort of also fudge it a little bit of, like, it's a Mantis, like, I guess, like, you know, there's some Mantis-esque features, I guess, and, like, this kind of reminds me of a Mantis, like this bit here, not the jet, but, you know, these little crane, they kind of look like Mantis legs, like, okay, I can see it, like, I can headcanon it, but then his Beetle mode looks nothing like a Mantis, like, it looks nothing, and like right here you can see it a little bit, like, it looks nothing like a Mantis, so I'm going to be very curious to see how that plays. Maybe they're going to do something where, I doubt it, but, you know, I can speculate, where Nate creates something where he infuses more, like, bug DNA into insect DNA into its forms, into, like, the Zords. Like, it's like, oh, so it's got a beetle mode or something, you know, I don't know. So, like I said, with the Ranger suits, I can sort of, you know, explain it a little bit in my head and morph it around. But the Zords, it becomes kind of tricky, so I'm really curious why they went for that. Like, again, I think Mantis sounds cool for a Ranger design. I like the in concept. And the Scarab Beetle, too. And it kind of works for Silver's helmet. But, you know, I'm not sure why. I feel like it just needlessly makes things difficult for them. And it's not like Kabuto and Stag Beetle aren't cool, like, and they could have found, or maybe they're just not native to California. I don't know where beetles exist. Like, you expect me to know that? Now I gotta look up science stuff. Could have been a cheesy scene where they found like the two kinds of beetles next to each other and like, oh, they're like brothers, and then just foreshadow. I don't know. Like, I'm not as mad about it as other people, but I think it was just kind of needless. Like, if it worked, like, sometimes there's stuff like that where they change something that's kind of similar and it works. But this only works like 40%, so I'm not sure. But I had to address that and, like, you know, use visual aids, and we'll see how you test well, buddy. I mean, Ace is pretty much the star of this channel now. But yeah, overall, back to the episode, I really did like it. I wish that it was 2 parts and we had a little bit more room to breathe. But with all that being said, I found it very enjoyable. A really good debut for me for Nate and Steel. I liked them both. I think both the suits looked fantastic in it. I'm really looking forward to seeing them integrate into the team more when we get back. I do kind of wish we would have gotten a few more episodes with just the core 3 Rangers, just because it feels like we're still so early on. But I am looking forward to seeing how all of them work together when we get back and where we go from here. Overall, I give this episode an 8.5. Like I said, this looks like it's going to be our hiatus. I might do next Saturday, I mean, we're not getting an episode next week for sure. I might do like a mid-season wrap-up review, just kind of a where are we now type video, and rewatch some of the episodes, but we'll see. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps, and ring that bell to get notifications for all my videos. Till next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.